can put the stream key in so that it shows, because when I do the cooking channels, I do the side by side. Let me tilt this up a little bit. Yeah, I do the side by side, so that's what I use.
Got you. So now StreamYard can put it on Instagram too.
Yes, Instagram, TikTok, anything with the stream key. I'll show you. I'll give you a little demo.
Yeah, that'll be cool.
Absolutely.
So waiting for my friend Chris to hop on. He usually does the lives with me, but while we're waiting, tell us about yourself, what you do, who you are. I'm assuming you're from the South too, right?
Yes, raised in the South, but I was born in Ghana, West Africa. So my family is African. We came to America when I was 1.
Oh, nice. What state?
So I'm in Atlanta. So for anyone who doesn't know me, I always say hi. I am Maggie, the substitute teacher. So my name is Margaret. Maggie is my childhood nickname. And I have a cooking channel on YouTube. And I'm not a real teacher. I actually work in tech, but I do teach cooking with sugar substitutes, dairy substitutes, and gluten substitutes, hence the substitute teacher.
Got it. Okay. Makes sense. Makes sense. Cool. Well, today, just wanted to talk to you about, and Chris, if he hops on, I sent him a message. He said he was waiting on me, but I guess we're waiting on him. So just wanted to talk about some of the videos I've seen with you talking about like relationships, especially from the woman's perspective. And, it seems like you have a lot of really good advice and some tips that it seems like people just don't talk about today because it's not popular. And so before we get into those specific things, what is it that, where does your, foundation to those beliefs come from? Is it family? Is it religion? Is it just common sense? A little bit of everything?
Yeah, I would say a little bit of everything and an older woman's wisdom. But yes, family. I have a traditional nuclear family, mom, dad, sister, brother, raised in the church. We grew up Presbyterian. So just the example that was given to me, and honestly, what makes common sense and what has worked for hundreds and for thousands of years.
Gotcha. Makes sense. Okay, so Chris is finally on, and now there we go. What's up, Chris?
Hey, how y'all doing?
Good, thank you.
Let me ask you guys anybody in the chat, is there a delay? Do you guys see a delay from me? Is there a delay with you guys? You don't see anything?
No, we're pretty straight over here.
Okay, we're good now. We're good now. So, Chris, share a little bit about yourself for the people that follow Maggie that don't know you.
Yeah. I'm gonna keep it short and simple. I'm from New Orleans, Louisiana. I'm an attorney, football coach. Well, was a football coach, actor, model, social media artist, painter. I do a whole bunch of different things, right? But most importantly, I'm a follower of Christ, right? Me and my boy Zach, we went to undergrad together. Involved in my community, involved in, being just a change agent and helping building up men to being who God created them to be, right? So, hey, I'm just trying to be everything God created me to be on this earth, right? And have fun doing it. So that's a little bit about me. And let's have a good conversation today,
Yeah.
Let's do it.
So we usually, when we come on the lives, I don't know why, but people want to talk about relationships all the time now. It's like kind of the hot topic or whatever.
Yeah, you said you're married.
It is the hot topic though.
But you're married, so you're on the other side of it.
Yeah, that's true. But what do you guys see from the woman's perspective, Maggie, and then Chris from the guy's perspective, and we can both talk on that the dating landscape looks like? Do you think that the dating relationship landscape today is in a good place, indifferent place, or a bad place?
So
in our culture, I'll say that.
Right.
America, Western society.
So if you were to ask me, I think, like you said, it is a hot topic because relationships are important, but I don't think it's working for what people ultimately want. So if you want, and I always preface it by saying, if you want a traditional relationship, then what we're doing is not working. But if you just want to have a rotation or have fun or just have a whole bunch of experiences, there's a lot of teaching on how to do that. But I think ultimately people who start that way tire of it and want something significant. And then, I'll just speak for the women that I coach and counsel outside of YouTube. They don't know what to do. Either they weren't taught, they've gotten that modern woman programming, and now they're desperate for something that's real. And I think that's what we're seeing.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree. If you want I wouldn't even say a quote unquote traditional, but if you want, a godly, long lasting, lifelong marriage companion, somebody to like really do life with and to build the kingdom with, it's kind of hard out there, right? And I think for men and women, right, if we're being honest, and I don't think it's hard for the same reasons for everybody, right? I think if like your vetting process is not really that good, then yeah, you're gonna see a whole lot of experiences, right? But then there's another level when, okay, you vet the bad ones out, right? So now it's not about deciphering the bad ones from the good ones. Now it's about deciphering the good ones from the right one, right? Because that I think that's the whole thing that most people, I don't see a lot of people talking about, but I think there's a lot of people, when you get to the next level, I think there's a lot of people that experience that as well.
Mm-hmm. So when it comes to I think a lot of people today, deep down, what they really want is a marriage. They do want children, men and women. And at the end of the day, it seems like they're settling for less, men and women, settling for less, and then just saying, you know what, maybe it's not, at least from the guy's perspective. I know there's a lot of guys that, growing up, you do want children, you do want a wife, you do want those things. You do want to be a father one day, most men. And then you grow up and you see, the bad that's out there. And then that hardens a lot of guys. At least I know I went through it to a certain degree where you're like, man, I forget a real relationship. I'm just going to do this. I'm going to do that. And then in the end, you're still not getting what you wanted at the beginning,
Right.
And
you're just coping with the pain.
And I see a lot of women doing that too, where they're like, deep down, at least I can't speak for women. You could probably.
Honestly, I think everybody wants it. I think everybody wants it. I think deep down, everybody wants a companion that's going to love them through their flaws, 100%, do life with them. I think everybody desires that.
I think most people desire it. But when I guess life happens, and for example, from the woman perspective, I'd love to get your take on this. A lot of times, there's that I don't need a man. Some ex-boyfriend did them wrong, and now I don't trust guys. Or my dad did something bad, and now I don't trust men, and now I've got to be the strong, independent, whatever. And then it kind of runs off some of the good guys that could have been out there. So I'd like to know your take on that.
Oh, okay. So I think ultimately it comes down to a decision. I'm not going to watch someone rob a bank and say, oh, well, that means I need to rob a bank. I think the accountability is, and I'll speak for the women, is on us to choose. I did come from a traditional nuclear family, so I had that wonderful example. But, respectfully, I would disagree, because when we do what we want to do, if a woman wants to start a business and she doesn't know how, she figures out how to, get funding and start a business. If we want to go to college and we don't know how, we find out how to get, into the school. So I don't think we're being as truthful when we say, oh, I just throw up my hands. I think that you make a decision and you act on that decision. I think, yes, people give up, but they choose to give up. Relationships are hard. I was married young. Unfortunately, as a reformed modern woman, it ended in divorce, but I'm now in my second relationship. I've been in 2 relationships, a marriage and then a long term. So I don't think just because you have a bad experience that it's the end for you, but you have to learn from that, pick yourself back up, and then do better. Choose wisely, date with intention, learn from the people who have what you want in the relationship space like you do it in every other space.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I want to make sure and preface this with this. I wasn't saying, I guess people can't help it. Things happen to them, and that I don't agree with the victim mentality, any of that stuff. Right. I guess I was just prefacing it with, because usually when we're on live together, they say, Zach, you're so harsh. You don't care about anyone else's experiences and stuff. So I wanted to make sure I put a different foot forward this time. But
no, I can take it.
I agree with you. I agree with you 1,000%.
Yeah, we shouldn't sugarcoat it. I think we should speak the truth. I think the sugarcoating has got us into the position that we are in now because women think it's easy. It's lickety split. One of the clips of mine that went viral is me saying it's absolutely wonderful and beautiful, but it's work. You're not just I woke up like this and it's gonna automatically happen. And so I think we need to prepare better. I think women need to vet just like they're being vetted. And I think they need to know what they want. And I would argue date exclusively the caliber of men that you see as husband material. Why waste your time? If you want something meaningful, if you want something long-term, and you give yourself to someone who has no intentions for you, doesn't make him a bad person, but you didn't choose wisely. And so then you're going to let that ruin you. And then even worse, blame all the good men that are out here as no good. I think it's wrong.
Why do you think they do that?
Why do I think they do?
Like, why do you think people, I guess women in particular, I could tell you why guys do it, but women in particular, when they say, I don't want this kind of guy, but I'm going to give this guy what he wants tonight. Why is that?
Goodness. I mean, of course, it all comes down to the original sin. We want what we want. Yeah. There's selfishness. Of course, there's desire, there's lust, there's all these reasons. But as an immigrant, one of the things that my parents really instilled in me is delayed gratification. And you're not going to get what you want tomorrow. It takes work over time. And the real men require consistency. I would argue a lot of women, and I'll go ahead and say it, they know they're not up to the task. And so they date at a level with a man who's not going to hold them accountable, who's not going to tell them, no, we're not doing that. No, you're not going here. No, we're not spending that. And so I think
you're ruffling some feathers, because I'm gonna keep it honest. Like I said, I always think, even in dating, like there's different levels, right, to the game, right? Yeah. Like once you start, this goes for men and women. When you start dating a higher caliber, and I don't mean like financially, I mean like when you start dating like a legit, top draft pick, right? A man that looks the part, the man that's emotionally intelligent, has spiritual maturity, that can lead you and guide you, that knows how to communicate. Man, that man is not going to accept a whole lot, right? Like he's not going to, not saying he can't give grace, but there's certain like red flags that it's going to be like, no, I'm not dealing with that, right? Like I hate to say it, even for me, like there's certain things like, if you kind of bring that up front, it's just like, no, I'm good. And it's not that, you're necessarily a bad person. It's just I already know what I'm willing to accept or willing to work with or not. And I think as you start dating a higher level of men and women, you start running into like, man, am I really ready for what I quote unquote say I want, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Because I think a lot of people like the idea of it than actually that.
You're absolutely right. And I think that real men, masculine men, the type of men that most women want, they aren't going to settle for less because they don't have to. And so I think a lot of women are unprepared. And so when they do meet a real one, then the panic sets in because they've never had this type of experience before. Maybe it's a lack of father. Maybe they've been dating men that just let them get away with anything. But my man, masculine men, the type of men that you're like, ooh, okay, you got to quickly get on board. And I just think that's really what it is, because these type of men are not walking around, just you don't bump into them all the time. They're on their purpose, they're busy, they mean what they say, they do what, they say what they mean. They're like, my man told me, I'm gonna tell you one time in a row. And I was like, wow, okay, he's serious. So I had to get ready right now. And I just think that when you encounter that, it can be, how do I say, it can be a little startling. For me, it's attractive. When you're a feminine woman, you crave that masculine decisiveness. You crave that masculine leadership and that protection. You need it. I think that's the way that we're built. I do not think we are equal. I think we are equally valued, but I think we're very different. And I think our differences are beautiful. And I always say that. So I think that's what it is. And so, women have to decide if they want to put in the work before he finds you, because like you said, when he finds you and you're not ready, he's not waiting because he doesn't have to.
Because, hey, if we're being honest, there's only some opportunities you don't get one shot at.
There you go.
Right? And if I'm being honest, I think we can all be honest, there's not a percentage-wise, there's not a whole lot of these men that you just gonna run into like 24/7, if we're being honest, right? Just do percentages, right? That top tier man, I'm not just talking about finance, I'm talking about all levels. That top tier man, one, he has a whole lot of people coming at him, right? Two, like you said, he's on his purpose, he's on his grind, he's doing what God's called him to do. So it's like, you really, if you get a shot, you better be ready, right?
Absolutely.
You can't be playing around still trying to figure it out, because he's gonna be like, man, like you just, it's just not, you're not ready.
So let me ask this. Let me ask this. I've heard people say stuff like, well, if he can't accept, all the faults, then he wasn't for me anyway. Have you heard people say that? Have you heard that saying?
Of course, it's an excuse, because if we're being honest as women, I know women that have a list of over 30 things. Give me a break. So I believe in relationships, especially if you want something, whether you call it traditional or something that is going to stand the test of time. Men lead, meaning they offer. We as women can either accept with grace or exit with grace. So I counsel women to have maybe 2 or 3 deal breakers at most, but if you think he's going to swim over broken glass and climb a castle to come bring you a lemonade when you want it, as you snap your fingers, you're going to be alone. It's just not real. And I know we all have media and social media and movies and whatnot, but we have to realize what's real. And I think women also are very short-sighted about how much the men put up with our foolishness. We are chaotic. My man asked me the other day, he's like, why is it always a yippee-ki-yay with you? I'm an extrovert, and he's very serious. And I have to remember, oh, okay, let me bring it down 1,000. So I think we just are so self-centered by nature. Maybe it's the design to keep the generations going, but I think we don't really realize how much men have to say, yeah, no, but I love her. Come on, let's go.
Yeah, it makes sense. And I think there's been a just a teaching and a molding from a young age that I know I heard and I kind of grew up with, is this idea that like, hey, I've got to do these things to get the princess at the castle. I've got, and I think that's true. The only problem that I think sometimes women don't see today is I'm only gonna, obviously I'm married now, but I'm only going to want to climb the castle if the princess is one that I would think is worth climbing for. And if you think I don't need to do any work on myself, I'm just automatically as is this amazing person, and I'm worth all of that, I think that's a little delusional.
Man, I'm gonna keep it a buck. Obviously, you're not dating or you don't, talk to women, but just like you hear a lot of women just from social media, just in general, that, and I always kind of like think about it because they always say, I deserve this, or I deserve that, or I deserve that. And I just think, I'm like, what makes you deserve that? Like, no, and not like in a, trying to like get on them or anything, but I'm just always curious, like what makes you say you deserve this, right? A lot of them say, oh, because I have a good heart. Really?
But here's the thing. Chris. I think that they've been told you deserve XYZ for a long time. And I'll give you an example. I'm at a few years ago, I'm at a work trip. I'm new in the company. And there are some, young ladies that were new in the company too. They can show up into a meeting a little late and, oh, I'm so sorry, blah, blah, blah. They can kick their shoes off and sit Indian style in the chair, and there was just a lot that they got away with that I would, if I did half of that, I wouldn't be able to get away with. And that's okay because we're different. Mm-hmm. But I think that sometimes younger women today do not understand we do not get the breaks that they get. And that's fine. That's part of the world. That's how the world is set up. I'm okay with that. But if you're going to be successful in dating, I think you've got to take that in consideration when you're trying to get the guy you want. And guys have to take that into consideration and accept that as well.
I was about to say, I think a lot of women, and I just made a post about it, look, especially in marriage, as a guy, as a man, you're supposed to be able to die for your wife like Christ did, right? But I think there's so much that comes before a man actually is ready to die for you specifically, right? Because it doesn't call us to die for every woman. It calls us to die for our wife, one specific woman. And in order for you to be on that level, or for him to see you in that light, to say, oh, I'm willing to die for you, sweet, like you have to be different. Like you have to be on a different level. Not that you have to
competition. There is competition.
Yeah.
Because you gotta be becoming different, right? Like, and I always say, like, it's hard. I'll say it's hard out here for women, right? Because there's a lot of competition out there and stuff like that to a certain extent. But you gotta come with it. Like you gotta come with your A game,
100%. And I think you brought up a point, Zach, about the work that men have to do. And being a boy mom, so we have two boys, they are 15 and almost 17 now. So one's a rising senior, and I see it. And having boys has completely changed my life because like my man told me, from a young age, a man is told, that's not good enough. Try harder, get back in the game, not strong enough, whether it's a father, a coach, a mentor, anything. And so to be able to even approach the woman that you want, there's so much blood, sweat, and tears, behind. A man, we know as women, if a man tried to approach us and didn't have anything to offer, we would there are videos now where women love shaming men who aren't up to their standards. So men know before they even approach, I have to be able to offer something. And what it costs a man to be able to offer the woman of his dreams, his life, his livelihood, his protection, his name, his banner, his security, his provision, all of that. It is no small feat. My hat's off to men. And I've already started telling the boys, with my ex-husband, look, it's going to be about 10 years. You're going to have to be heads down and just get it out of the mud. But when you do, you call the shots. Absolutely. She has to get on your program. And they're teenagers now. So I think that's very short-sighted for a lot of modern women, the privilege that we have. But, let the war in Ukraine or anything happen, women fall immediately back to women and children first. But when it's safe and it's comfortable and there's food everywhere and there's appliances and all of that, we have this misplaced bravado that I think our mouth is writing a check our behind cannot cash.
Well, here's the thing that I think It is. So like when you look at society, right? The best societies provide a good life for the weakest people. Okay. So someone with a handicap or someone with some sort of deformity, they can still live a safe life because the strong people in the society decided to create a place where they're safe to protect them from certain things. And the problem I think that we're getting into in today's day and age, not even with the whole gender issues, but just everything, is we've got a society that's been stable for a long time to where people forgot what the world was like before. And my wife likes hiking and walking and, you know, going outside and stuff like that. One of her friends takes all these hiking photos, and she's like, I'm conquering the world. And she takes pictures on the tops of mountains and stuff like that and on these trails. And I'm like, okay, it's cool. But at the end of the day, you had wilderness, wild chaos, and I guess barbaric animals, everything. And then some guys came in and tamed it and made it safe and created a trail for you to walk on and signs and stuff. And now you're going and playing.
Right.
And I think that people, because we're so far removed from that time, we forget that. And that's not just men and women, but just people in general. But especially in this conversation, I think sometimes younger women fall into that category.
Yes, I would agree. It is a very, I want to say childlike, but it's actually childish quality with respect. And I'm a woman myself, but when you have children and you see them complain, oh, my life is so miserable. And you're like, are you kidding me? You have your own bedroom, your own bathroom. There's food in the fridge. Like you have everything. Like quit your crying, stop complaining. I love to travel. And so when you travel to other countries, you see very quickly how society could be. And we do. We're blessed to be in this country and then in this modern world. But all it takes is, one threat and things could be very, very different. And I hate for people to have to learn the hard way, but sometimes they do.
Yeah. 100%.
I have a question. Yes. Somebody asked, what would help the ladies stand out?
Okay, so again, I advise that you make a decision of the type of relationship that you want. So let's say you want marriage and family. I was married at 25. So I met my ex-husband, I was 18. It was the summer before college. So you have to be okay being the salmon swimming upstream. You have to be okay to be the odd one out, to see everybody doing everything and say, you know what, I'm not going to do that. I think that we stand out by knowing what the men that we want. And I think that a lot of women are blindsided because we go into relationships thinking that our man is going to be our permanent plus one. I've got this whole movie in my head of what's going to happen. He's just going to come along for the ride. And then, they get shocked and appalled when the man is like, no, I'm not doing that. I don't want to do that. This is what I have planned. So I think we need to surround ourselves by the type of men that we see as husband material and listen to them and learn from them and watch how they move. If you have the opportunity to date, I would only date those men so that you can be practiced. I think you need to know what men want. If you have a traditional man or a masculine man, he wants a feminine asset to his masculine brand. So I think, and my experience has been, a man who's on his purpose is going to tell you exactly what he wants. He's going to say, I'm looking for this type of woman. I can do these things. And I need you, like my man told me, I'm going to handle all of this. I need you to pick up the slack in these areas. So they're saying what they want. They're saying, this is what I like. This is what I don't like. I don't think we women often believe them until we touch the hot stove. And then we're like, ooh, he was serious about that. So I don't think it's as complicated as we make it to be, but I think we're listening to women and we're listening to single women instead of listening to women in the types of relationships that we want and the caliber of men that we want to be with.
Now, one of my friends said that the issue with I guess the single friends and giving all their input and everything is because there's not a lot of happily married women that are actually vocal about these things. They're just kind of like, oh, okay, if she's not doing that, I'm not going to ruffle any feathers. I'm going to go over here. What do you think the culture needs to do to kind of change this narrative that only one side is getting a voice? Like, would you say that some of the people that are happily in these marriages, men talking to younger men, women talking to younger women, do you think that's something that just has to change for things to get better?
Yes, but you're right. The happy ones are quiet. I could be in my cul-de-sac, minding my business. My life would be great. But, when I watched the late, great Kevin Samuels, ninja watching him, one of the things he said that just kind of hit me at my core is, where are the older women to teach the young? So, I step out from time to time and say my thoughts on this. But yes, older women should offer their experiences, what we've done right, as well as what we've done wrong. That's the way that it's been for hundreds, thousands of years. But I also put the responsibility on women that want a different outcome. You have to seek it out. I'm sorry. Yeah. You cannot tell me that you're going to sit on your hands and it's just going to magically happen to you when in every other area of life, how many makeup tutorials are online? How many shopping hauls are online? How many hair videos are online? You seek out, every lyric to every dance song, you practice for hours, you do all the foolishness, dare I say, but then you're deaf, dumb, and mute when it comes to the one thing that could change your life. So I would say younger women need to seek it out. Doesn't have to be me. Find the women that are happy and they're quiet. Ask them, what are you doing?
So, hi, what's your name?
Hi, I'm Ina.
Where are you from?
Well, I'm from the Bay Area in San Francisco, Bay Area, California.
Nice. So, Did you have a question, comment, anything you wanted to share?
Yeah, actually, I do have a question. So, for some reason, I don't know if it's just the area that I live in, but I have a really hard time with meeting men and meeting guys. And I'm plugged into church and I have a lot of social networks. And I also work in sports too. So I'm always around men, which should be a good thing. But for some reason, I just don't get approached by the guys that I would like to be approached by. And I think recently the Lord kind of showed me that I just need to smile more. And it was an interesting analogy. So I went fishing in Nashville. I just got back from Nashville to visit my brother-in-law and my sister-in-law. And my in-law took me fishing. And it was my first time fishing. And so he's all like, yeah, you just have to wait and be patient. And then once the fish starts nibbling on the bait, then you want to wait a little bit more and then start yanking and then cranking in. And then I told him, I was like, oh, so my smile is the bait. And he just he kind of joked around with me because he's all like, what's wrong with you? Why don't you have a guy? And I was thinking I don't know what is wrong with me. And then I had to realize and reflect oh, it's because I look mean when I don't smile. And so I think that's why I don't get approached. Or, if I don't smile at a guy, then he probably thinks I'm not interested. So I just want any tips from the more experienced.
So if that's a question for me, a couple of things. May I ask your age? I'm 48, so I don't mind sharing. May I ask your age?
Yeah, I'm 35.
35. Have you ever been married? No, never married, no kids? Okay.
Yeah, not that.
And how long ago was the latest relationship that you have that you would call a real relationship?
Ooh, probably 2 years.
Okay.
Ago.
So you said a lot there. I would agree that smiling is important, but smiling is a part of your overall approachability. There's so many things that have developed over time with humans. We have to be able to tell if the person approaching us is friend or foe. And especially if you work in a masculine environment, I do as well. I work in tech. And so it's data driven, it's corporate, it's competitive. I could have that as well. But I'm very intentional about softening because I don't want people to think I'm something that I'm not. I hear women all the time, oh, but when you get to know me, you're out of time. You don't have time because there's too much competition of women that are open and friendly. So that's a part of it. The reason I asked about the relationship is, have you ever gotten any feedback from either the men that you're dating or maybe a man that you were interested in as to what their impression was of you or maybe why it didn't work out?
Oh, that's a really good question. I actually never thought about asking.
Yeah.
But the impression that I did get is I actually never dated a Christian.
Okay.
And I feel like I was fishing in the wrong pool.
Okay. So if you want to be with a Christian, I would say, especially at our age, and I'm just going to say over 30, because we're mature women now, we're not young anymore. You have spent your years doing something, becoming a professional, getting a skill, whatever. So you should have a network of people, if it's not a romantic relationship, but people that know you, that know what you want. And you have to open up your mouth and say that. If whatever happened and I found myself single again, I would tell everybody that I know I'm single and I don't want to be. And I believe I have a lot of love to give and I'm looking for this type of man. If you know anyone, please make an introduction. A lot of women sometimes just kind of like go through life thinking, well, he's going to come tap me on the head. Unfortunately for us, because of the modern dating environment, men have a lot of reason to take pause with women. They don't know if it's going to be some type of, shaming or embarrassment. They have a lot to lose on the line. So you have to really make yourself approachable. It could be, of course, your face, meaning like your expressions, but then the type of men that you want. Do you study them? Do you know them? Do you know what they're looking for in a wife if you want to be married? Are you surrounding yourself, learning from the other wives that have successful marriages? And I guess, that would be my thing. So yes, your approach, what feedback have you gotten and have you acted on it? And then your network. Over 30, I think you're out of the casual dating or the it's just going to happen. You have to date with intention and tell the people that you know, I am looking for a husband, or I want to be found by a husband. If you know anybody, please introduce me. That's what I would say.
Totally. And do you think it's like appropriate to even mention that in the workplace?
I met my ex-husband at work. It depends. And I know people hate that answer. I wouldn't lead with that. I wouldn't announce, hey, I'm single. But if you have a relationship with a trusted colleague, maybe you all, hang out after work, maybe it's risky, but, and then of course, it's kind of obvious if you have a church home. I don't know if they have a singles ministry. What I tell the ladies is, I would find every men's event and volunteer. They're having a pancake breakfast. I'm putting my apron on. I'm coming to decorate. I'm bringing snacks. I'm bringing table decorations. Like, I'm just going to look like that lost lady. Like, y'all need anything? I'm refilling drinks. Like, I show up already doing the things that a wife would do. And so when they see me, they don't have to imagine, like, I wonder what kind of home she keeps. Like, I carry that with me everywhere. So I live out what I want to be in every space. So I would definitely do that. Check the churches in your area. Everybody's got a website. Go to their calendar, find the events, and offer to help. Make yourself useful.
That's interesting that you say that, because you hear a lot of times in today's society, women, even Christian women, saying that, hey, don't give a man a husband treatment, right? Or don't be like a wife until he makes you his wife, right? Like you hear that a lot, and it works both sides. Men say it too, but that's interesting that you said no. Like come in those spaces and give that type of energy.
Absolutely. Right. You want to stand out. You don't want to
show
be
you got
overlooked.
potential. Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's great advice.
That's
Let me ask you this. May I ask, you said you live in California, San Francisco, right? And what type of guy are you looking for, if you don't mind me asking?
Ooh. I feel like you left. No, I'm just kidding. I'm looking for, well, obviously somebody who's like, Christ-centered, who's, that's like obviously number one for me.
That one alone, you may need to leave California. I'm just saying.
No, I was like, what am I doing in California? Texas or Nashville or Tennessee or whatever.
Okay, so.
I mean, pretty simple. Like, I feel like just because I didn't date Christian men before, it's like that's what I'm really looking for, because I dated people that were in the secular, like they were just not Christian at all.
So is there any sort of I guess like physical?
Yeah, what do you want outside of the Christian? Because just because he's a Christian don't mean he's
a... Yeah, we're getting there.
Right. Yeah, no, totally. I have a lot of Christian guy friends, and they're not like not my type.
We're gonna go Kevin Samuel's checklist, but more of a Christian-based version. We're not gonna go some of that extra stuff. But is there a height requirement?
I would prefer a guy that's taller. I am pretty tall, like 5'9", and I like wearing heels. But I have dated guys that are shorter.
Okay, cool.
I think what's important to me, it's like somebody who's really like they like the importance of health is their priority. Like having a healthy lifestyle.
So if they're short, they need to be jacked, basically.
If they're short, then they should be working out. I think
cool. Hey, look, I'm just getting an understanding so we can know what you're looking for, and then she can give the best advice to probably point you in the right direction.
Honestly, the ideal guy is obviously like 6 foot tall, taller than 6 foot, healthy, physically fit, not too bad on the eyes, has a nice smile. I mean, obviously those are just the physical attributes. There's also his heart posture and his integrity.
If he's following Christ, that stuff should be taken care of.
Should be.
Yeah,
really,
for sure.
If he's really following Christ, that stuff should be taken care of. 6 foot. Is there in shape? Is there a financial requirement?
Honestly, I think because of my age, I would assume that they're already pretty established or working towards it. I think like if he's working towards his purpose, I don't really, the financial part of it isn't that much of a concern for me, because I know like if his heart posture is right, then he's going to want to lead and be a provider. So that's not necessarily.
So is there a, because I ask people this all the time, okay? He's a Christ follower. He's on his purpose. And his purpose, he's like a John the Baptist. He's out there like, hey, maybe we've got a 1-bedroom place, but this is my purpose. He's providing, a studio apartment, and it looks like that's going to be what you guys have. Are you okay with that as long as he's passionate about it?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Totally.
Good to know. Good to know.
I mean, honestly, it's about his heart and like his relationship with Christ.
Okay.
That will come eventually.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll be the one helping him to get to that place regardless. So it's not that he has to come with everything laid out on the table. Like I'm also bringing him my gifts, and it's a partnership, right?
So we can probably talk about that a little bit later, but I get what you're saying. So what do you think those guys are looking for? So I'm assuming you're in shape, right? In pretty good shape. Okay. You're taller. Do you need a taller guy, from what you said, or maybe It's not a deal breaker. And how long have you been a Christian?
Okay, so I got saved when I was 16, but I lost my way after college. And so I recently just got back with my relationship with Christ. So, and that's been 2 to 3 year process, maybe 4 year. But last 2 years have been really like, I'm all for, like, it's all about my relationship with Christ. And that's where I'm headed.
Cool. So one thing that I try to do is, I like to bring reality, but the thing that I like to do different is I also like, some people bring reality and then they never give any advice. And I think she's probably the best person to give advice on that guy that you just described, what he's looking for, and just some practical tips on how you can attract that guy.
Totally.
I don't want to be setting you up for Maggie I don't want you to get, doing a free session or anything here, but
no, I don't mind. No, that's why I'm
any
here.
tips that you think that maybe you noticed that was said that, hey, maybe you missed this, or maybe here's a thing to focus on, anything like that?
Oh, yeah, a couple of things. I'm glad you asked about how long she's been a Christian, and it could be, anything. I mean, I am also a Christian, but I think sometimes it's important. Consistency is so important to men. They look at our track record. It could be your faith. It could be your fitness. It could be your finances. It could be, you see a lot of times, and I'm not saying this is you see a lot of times women go astray in whatever area. And then, okay, now I'm ready. And the men are like, I don't know if I want to take a risk on that. Because again, when a man is that house band, that husband, he has to be willing to die for his family. And so we have to make sure that we're worthy of that. So I would ask you, why do you want to, one, do you want to be a wife? Why do you want to be a wife? And what kind of wife do you want to be?
Hold on, I'm going to have to write them down. Those are some good questions to ask.
Those are really good.
Those are really good questions to ask.
Number one, yes, I definitely want to be a wife. Number two, why do I want to be a wife?
Yes.
To expand the kingdom, to be the helpmate for my husband. And three, what kind of wife do I want to be? Oh, Proverbs 31.
Okay.
Honestly, I have high expectations. So I'm working on myself right now. Like, I really want to be the best wife I can be. Like, I've been fasting and praying and really just coming to the Lord with what he wants me to do. Like, I'm really just trying to surrender to the Lord because it's been rough and there's just a lot. So
I have a question.
Yeah.
Do you have a mentor?
I do. I have several. But they're moving out of state to Tennessee.
Are they older women?
One is not. She's like the same age as me, but she's been married for like 10 years. I do have obviously my in-laws are mentors to me and my sister-in-law. I can't really think of anybody much older though. And that's actually why I've been trying to seek out church community, because I really need that older mentorship or having a woman that can speak counsel over me. Because that's something that I haven't really had.
I would recommend looking for a wife whose husband is really happy. Mark Driscoll, a pastor down in Arizona, says, guys, if you want a mentor, find a guy whose wife is happy and his children are happy. That's the guy you need to be mentored by. And I would say find an older woman that her husband looks like he's happy. He's not like, yeah, honey, I'll do what you said. Where he's just kind of just fulfilling his role every day. But someone that actually, he's like, I have the best wife in the world. Even my wife has a mentor. And so, and we're already married. And
even Zach has mentors.
And I have a mentor. So a few, yeah. And so it's definitely something that I would advise if she wasn't going to advise it already. That's probably someone that's been where you're trying to go. or is where you're trying to go.
I really like that advice. I did have one curious question. I've asked many people this and have researched it, but what's your take on approaching a man? Or is it better just to smile and then have him approach?
Wow. So if that question is for me, and again, I'm an older woman and I'm a throwback, I would probably never approach a man, but I would let him know that I'm interested by the way that I carry myself, eye contact. I just think we've lost the art of flirting. I think you can definitely let a man know that you're interested, compliment him. Again, your network, find out if he's, single, maybe drop your virtual handkerchief, but to just cold approach a man, I know some women do it, but I never would. I understand today the dating landscape has changed, but I think you start the way that you finish. And if you don't want to be out in front in the relationship, I think you let the man lead. If he's interested, the masculine men that I know, they go for what they want. So you need to become what those men want. If nothing else, they'll approach you out of curiosity and just kind of, find out what's the story here. Then you have your opportunity. But I think if you just are kind of like, and I'm not saying you're doing this, but if you just sit back and you're like, well, I hope somebody notices me, it's not going to happen like that. So you want to definitely stand out.
I heard somebody on the live, I don't know who it was. Chris, I think you were on the live with me when there was a lady that was describing a way to let men know that she's interested without actually pursuing. So it was a college example. And she said, why don't you bake this guy some cookies, bring the cookies to his place and say, hey, baked you some cookies, thought you may like them, and if you ever want to run the calories off, let me know. I'm in this room over here, and then that way it's kind of like letting them know the door's open without saying, I'm asking you out on a date and pursuing them.
That's cute. I like that.
It ain't always got to be as, like, I think people over kind of think that whole aspect of just approaching people and getting to know people, right? It doesn't always have to be as deep as people like you see on the romantic comedies, right? Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's just like you just come up with an excuse and just start talking, right? Like, just, hey, man, like, this is my first time going to this church. How long have you been here? Yada, yada, yada. And then if something forms, then great. Like, that's just getting to know somebody. It doesn't always have to be like, oh, hey, how you doing? Can I have your number? Like, it doesn't always have to be kind of like that. Just make good conversation and have a good time. And if it flows, then let it flow,
I agree. I think soft skills and just conversation skills have become a lost art. That natural curiosity about people, all of the things that you would say at a cocktail party, any new restaurants you've been to lately, any places you've traveled to, how do you like to spend your free time? There's nothing wrong with just getting to know people, because you never know, even if it's not a love match with them, they may know someone, but that keeps your skills kind of sharpened. And like I was saying in the beginning, like a lot of women just do whatever they want to do, and then they meet the one and they're like, oh my goodness, I'm not prepared now, what do I do? And it's too late.
But like you said, become what the man that you want to get is like desires, right? I think a lot of women be like, oh, I want a man of God, I want a husband and stuff, and then we go to your page and you always in the club, and it's like, come on, man, like, and you may look good, you may look great, but it's like, how am I supposed to take you seriously? And not saying you can't go enjoy yourself, but if that's what you're posting consistently, right? Mm-hmm. You're just not giving me that vibe, right? That you want to be married, that you're ready, right? That you've done the work mentally, spiritually, emotionally to become a wife, right? So if you want to be that, if you want to be what they desire, you gotta be that. You gotta show that. You gotta move like that. Utilize social media, right? Take some nice pictures. Do whatever you gotta do, right? But make sure, man, when that guy, that man of God or whatever, even randomly comes across your profile, he's like, she's checking the boxes just in my head, right? Now I can approach, because now, you made some videos online, you seem approachable, you talk about purpose, you're operating in your purpose. It's like, okay, like I'm feeling this, right? Versus doing whatever, and it's like, nah, like we just wouldn't cross paths, you know.
And it sounds to me like you're actually taking the self-analysis seriously. And like I said, I think the next step is just getting a mentor, finding people that are in happy marriages that you want to be in. And if you can't find them, I know Maggie follows, and she probably posts people and could probably send you some people, or she could probably, I don't want to say she's going to do something if she didn't commit to it, but I would say reach out to her. She'd probably really be able to help.
Yeah.
For sure.
Totally. I like that. I also, I think maybe this is a good question for others watching, but how do you prepare yourself or become the woman that you, I don't want to say should be becoming, but that the men that you want are seeking? And how do you know what they are seeking?
Well, again, if that question is for me, you said yourself you wanted to be a Proverbs 31 woman. What is she? She, minds the house, her children, her rise up to meet her. Are you well spoken of? Are you, how do you use your time? Are you just idly, scrolling? Are you productive? Do people see you volunteering? I would say know what that is, and then measure yourself honestly and take an assessment and say, okay, I'm strong in these areas. These are the areas I have to work on, and maybe even prioritize that. You can't do everything all at once. So I think there's a certain amount of just becoming a woman of good character, a godly woman, however, you say that, that's important to you. Okay. And then, for the men, I don't think there's anything wrong with asking, but I think we need to watch and study. I think men have been studying women a lot longer than we've just kind of been like going through life like it's just going to happen. Men know, okay, this type of woman, she likes this, she moves this way, and they act according. They make sure they get, the 5-bedroom house in the suburbs or whatever the woman of their dreams is going to require. So I think we have to put in the work and socialize with those kind of men, whether it's at church or network or whatever. And I would ask them, if you find a man who brags about his wife and says, man, I'm telling you, she is just a rock star, ask him, can we have a cup of coffee? I just want to pick your brain. You seem really happy, what is it? How did you know? What did you see? What, how did you become this success? I just think that we don't put in the work into relationships that we do in other areas. You're a professional, I think you said, in sports, media, or whatever it is. You didn't just wake up and become that. You worked every day, got better, got feedback, and said, okay, I need to do that better. Went back in, networked, interviewed, all the work that you did. You've got to do that same effort for the relationship. It's not going to just happen. So that's what I would offer.
I would say, and obviously just from my biased opinion, right? Like, definitely a woman that's, I think it's understood, being into the word, right? Having a certain type of foundation with the word, believing the same, things foundationally, but also the willingness to grow, right? And spiritually, right? I think that's really important. You see a lot of women, that may be on a certain level, but they're not willing to, take constructive criticism, willing to learn. And that's in all aspects, right? Spiritually, mentally, physically, just a willingness to say, okay, how can we make each other better, right? Because at the end of the day, that type of man, he's looking for a helpmate. He's looking for a partner. How are you going to, and I'm not talking about what do you bring into the table, but how are you going to add to the vision, to the life, right? So can you follow? Can you add to it? Can you sharpen him on certain areas, right? Can you give him maybe a new perspective, right? Are you emotionally intelligent, right? So one thing I look for is, do you operate on principles and not on your emotions, right? I know emotions is a very, touchy thing, especially, with women, unfortunately, but like, because I'm seeing, are you just always emotionally driven, or do you live based on the principles, especially the principles of the Bible, versus just, this is how I'm feeling, it is what it is, right? And how do we see that as men? We see that on, physically, right? Do you work out when you don't feel like working out, right? I get it. We don't always feel like working out, but do you still say, hey, I'm still going to get it in, right? Do you choose to address me in a respectful manner, even though you may be pissed at me right now, right? Mm-hmm. So for me, like one of my rules,
that's probably the biggest. I would say
that's the huge one. I know that's
married man. Because I would say that's the biggest. That will set you apart. If you can master that, that will set you apart from everyone else.
And that's what men are looking for, right? That top tier type of man, he's looking for, okay, especially, you know, I know for me, I've never picked a bad woman, right? Like all men have been good women. So how do you separate yourself? So that's what we're looking for. Even with these good Christian women, how are you going to separate yourself to say, man, this is different? Like the way she moves, the way she thinks, how she operates. Is she purpose driven? Is she just focused on all the glitz and glamour of having a big wedding and wearing the red bottoms and all this stuff? Or is she about purpose? Not saying those things are bad, but are you focused, right? I think those are just, you know, a couple of things just off the top of my head, right? And even how you carry yourself, right? Like, do you take time in you know, not that you have to have makeup 24/7, but do you take care of how you look? Do you take care of your body? Are you trying to be the best version of yourself, mentally, physically, emotionally, financially? And if we can see that, if we can see fruit and evidence of all those things, right? And you can see that you have a kind heart, that you can be a great wife, right? That you can't get along with our families, and then we can't, you know, join and create another family. And one thing is extremely important. I know for me, and I think Zach can attest to this. You always have to remember, at the end of the day, it's you and your husband. Y'all are on the same team. Period. It ain't your mom. It ain't your sister. It ain't X, Y, and Z. It's you and him on the same team. So y'all need to be, whether it's just effective communication, having those rules in the relationship, being on the same page of the vision of what you're trying to do, we have to be on that same page with that, because it says even the word, a house divided is going to fall. So we have to make sure we're okay before anybody else is okay, right? So those are just little things that I think.
You're walking her through the dating, the relationship, the marriage, how to make the marriage last.
I'm trying to get the nuggets. I'm trying to, you know, hey, and this for everybody on there. Take it as, you know, take it how you see fit.
No, I agree. That's definitely solid. And like I said, my wife has a virtual mentor. Mm-hmm. Technology's great. So if you don't have anyone in your community, you can always send me a DM and send her a DM. And if she isn't busy and she doesn't already have her clients filled, I could recommend you to some other people too. So there's probably people in the chat right now that are being mentored by her. So I appreciate you coming on and
thank you
asking those questions. It was really good questions.
Thank you so much. Yeah, this is really cool.
Yeah,
really
no problem.
Good
Appreciate
luck.
you.
Yeah, keep in touch.
Nice to meet you.
All right, definitely. Bye.
Bye.
That was good. I think it's refreshing to see people in general. Because I'll be honest, I don't want to pin this just on women, but just people in general that say, I don't like the results I've got. What can I do different? Yeah. Instead of just blaming, the world is set up and rigged the wrong way. Right. And we've been talking about women for like 90% of this. I'm going to talk about the men for a second.
Yeah, let's get on the men.
I'm going to talk about the men. There's a lot of guys, and some of the guys, if you're watching, I highly respect and everything, but I disagree with some things, some that I hear multiple men say. When I say, hey man, why don't you have a girlfriend? Why aren't you going out there pursuing? Like, shoot your shot. Well, you know, they're just not the same anymore, you know? I'm like, okay, but how do you know if you never talked to them? Well, I just know that if I were to approach them, they would just be stuck up, and they're looking for a guy that's 6'6", making six figures and all this other kind of thing. And I'm like, I'll be honest, it sounds like you're scared. Really, it sounds like you're afraid of rejection. And so my advice to guys is, you're a single man, and from a Christian perspective, I'm not saying sleep around, do any of that stuff, but I'm saying approach women like, I would say shoot 4 shots a day. When I say shoot shots a day, I mean go ask for their number. What me and Chris used to do in college. I've said this before. In college, But I'll be honest, most men that are out of college are afraid to do this today. We did this in college. We would literally go up. I was looking for my phone. My phone's right here.
He did it this way. Yo, I didn't do it this way, but this is how he did it.
Maybe he was afraid. I don't know.
No, I didn't. But I don't know. I got a different style than you, Zach. But anyway.
No, it wasn't a style thing. It was just, let's see what we can do. Let me just get over this issue or whatever. So we would go up and we literally said, we'd walk up to a woman and say, hey, put your number in my phone.
Sometimes you wouldn't say nothing.
Take the phone. Hey, put your number in my phone. C-Love did it. One of the other guy, the Kaz TV, Christian and Zach TV, he did it. Chris may have done it once or twice, but we would do this like during the summer. We'd go to the mall and stuff and try this out. And surprisingly, I found out it worked. And it worked because they saw you as confident and not afraid. And I realized most women are not being approached. Mm. So especially today when guys are like, oh, I'll send her a message on Instagram. I don't want to talk to her in person. Guess what? Now there's less competition. You're the only guy that came and talked to her today. She's probably going to be thrilled that you said something. If she's not, let it roll off your back. Be a man and move to the next one. Yeah. But you can't be afraid of rejection. And you've got to be honest about that and say, hey, am I afraid of rejection? If you are afraid of it, you need to get to a point where you're so used to it that it doesn't bother you if there's a risk of rejection coming up. So when you're in the gym, shoot your shot.
I think it's half of being afraid of rejection, but I think the other half of it is just not knowing your identity in Christ, right? Not being secure in it to an extent of, man, like I'm able to compete with any man out there, right? I know for me, I know who God created me to be. So I don't care if it's Jay-Z, I don't care who it is, right? I'm able to compete with him, right? Because I know who he made me to be. I know who he created me to be, and I can go out and be different than any man that she's ever met, right? And you have to have that type of confidence to say, no, like, not a cockiness, but like, you've never met a man like me before, right? Because, not unfortunate, but it's the reality. If you were that type of man, you've had to have done the work mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, in order to be that high level type of man. So when you approach a woman, now if she just don't see it, that's on her, and it is what it is, right? But you got to have the confidence to say, knowing who you are, and having the confidence to say, yeah, man, like let's see what is, let's see what happens.
We got to a point where we were like, let's see how far we can take this, and not say anything. There were some times I just handed the phone, just with it, the setting where it says like add new number, where it's already set to add new number, just hand the phone. And then I'd say it was like a 50-50 chance. And so if you can get to a point where you're that comfortable being that bold, right? Then you starting a conversation saying, hey, where are you from?
Not only that, bro, like it's so easy now because on YouTube and stuff, they literally have people that like show you their riz or whatever they call it, right? And show you like how they approach women. And like,
I don't know what that is.
It's just like your swag when you're talking to a woman. That's all it is, right? But they literally show that, and it's like, man, if you got to take some notes, man, study and do what you got to do, right? Go watch the movie Hit. It ain't all that complicated, right? But you got to do it. You got to practice. You got to get out there because when you do meet, again, just like we said with women, there's some opportunities, man, you might only get one shot at. Right? Yeah. Like when you see that diamond in the rough, or it might not even be in the rough, you just see that diamond, bro, you gotta come with it, and you gotta make sure you're prepared and see what happens, right? Because man, you might only see that woman that
you don't your life. If you don't take the shot, someone else will.
Yep.
Someone else will. So that's my issue right now with some of the guys is you got guys that will watch these videos and the red pill videos and all this. Like, oh, women do this, women do that. And I said, well, when was the last time you were on a date? Well, they do it. And I'm like, how do you know? Well, I saw it on YouTube. And it's like, dude, get out there and start living. And I'm not saying that there aren't women out there like that. But I've experienced it. A lot of these people haven't experienced it in the same way that you'll have some women say, oh, guys are misogynistic, blah, blah, blah. It's like, well, you came from a good household. Your dad didn't treat you like that. Why do you have this experience? Because I saw it on MTV, because I saw it on VH1 and all this other stuff. So you've got to get out there and realize, like, hey, if you're a guy, get off the internet and live life. Really get out there and try to do these things that we're talking about. And I guarantee you will set yourself apart easily. Easily. Not a lot of competition out there. Not a lot.
And what you'll find is those genuine connections that you make, bro, you don't have to have it all together. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have to be making $250,000, be 6'6", and this and that. Like, you don't have to have it all together, man. Like, because it's a process, right? But if she can see the fruit and the evidence of you being a disciplined man, being a man of your word, get into your Bible and doing all these different things, taking care of your body, be able to lead, protect, cultivate, guide her in the right ways. If she can see the evidence, and I mean the actual evidence in your life, bro, like you gonna separate yourself just from that alone.
Well, there's a preface with that, though. There's a preface with that. If she's mature, she will see that.
Not true, but that's all depending on who you're approaching too.
Huh?
That's all. That also depends on who you're approaching. Just like
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
If you posting girls in the club, well, bro, like you got this. Like,
I think the thing is, guys need to stop worrying so much about. Let me watch this red pill video where this girl got owned, yeah, and then like what? How is it helping you? It's just making you feel better. It's like the blue-haired feminist lady that's listening to the videos about guys getting rejected, and she's like, yeah, he got what came to him. You're in that same boat. I'm not saying those problems don't exist. I agree those problems exist. I don't like feminism. I think feminism is a bad idea, all of that, okay? But you are not going to change anything in your life if you are just sitting on your hands saying, feminism's out there. That's why I don't have a wife. I got married in this day and age. Chris will probably be married soon too, maybe, people are still getting married. People are still having healthy marriages. Everyone's not getting a divorce. Every girl isn't the girl that showed up on Fresh and Fit. So you've got to go out there and you do the work. I get it can be scary. And I don't think I should have to tell this to guys and coddle it, like, oh my gosh, it's scary. It's so hard out there. Poor piddle for you. But you're a man. You're a man. Like, you're supposed to. Men were the ones that crossed the oceans and went to all these scary places. You're telling me, yeah, I'm a high value man. I'm an alpha man and all this, but I'm afraid to go talk to a girl in the gym. Come on. Again, I am not making an excuse for feminism and all that. I've just got to stay fair and balanced. That's the only reason I'm saying that. Because we spent 90% of this talking about the women, and I'm about to go back there. Okay. But we've just got to be honest. So if we do the work, and then right now there's a lot of ladies probably tapping the heart like, yeah. But now you got to realize everything she said is accurate too. You've got to do the work too.
And to be honest, it's just a basic recipe because when you get in a relationship, I'm sure both of y'all can attest to, there's work you got to put in. So if you can't put in the work on your own, man, you're not even ready. You're not even on the right level to be in a relationship, especially not marriage.
And I will say that I think the world right now, and the enemy, is using a specific strategy that he used in the garden. He's deceiving the women. What are we going to do about it? But he is deceiving the women. A lot of tell me some of the things that you're hearing, Miss Maggie, about, like, some of the lies that women are believing today that's setting them up for failure.
Oh, goodness. Well, you said a lot there. I will answer your question, but just to respond briefly to what you talked about, because I speak to women. I don't believe I have a place to speak to the men, but I do agree confidence is attractive. I will just say this. As a mom, what I tell the boys and what my man says is, men, you just have to become that woman, that the man that woman is naturally attracted to. Yes, you need to shoot your shot and all of that. I don't have any advice for that. But I think your accomplishments, the women will come. I think you just got to be on your purpose. And, I think women naturally we're attracted to that type of provider and protector. So I think if you do that and you're consistent and you can demonstrate and communicate, this is my benefits package and this is what I'm looking for, I think that is half of it.
Then it's going to be easy at that point.
Right. Okay. What lies do we hear from the enemy? And this has been going on for so long. I agree. I think feminism has told women you can have it all and you can have it all at the same time. And I always say, you don't have to do anything that I do. You can absolutely live the life that you want to. But I do believe that we were created to be that support system to our husbands. I think that I'll speak for myself. I am my happiest when I am 100% in support and taking care of the family and nurturing. I have a lot of accolades on paper, college, master's degree, executive, big jobs, all of that. That's what I do. That's not who I am. I think a lot of women have lost their identity, and I think they're trying to compete with men as men. And we have not realized that being a woman really is our superpower. Men don't want what they already have. Like my man will tell you, this is what I'm good at. And I'm looking for the complement to that. So when we lean into where we're naturally gifted, I would say, and we show up as that, warm and welcoming spirit that, my man wants a matriarch, a woman that is well respected, a woman that knows how to run a home, a woman that keeps his name. How do you say? He brings respect to his name. He doesn't have to stop what he's doing, being on his purpose, to come see about me. I know how to get on the program. I know how to take feedback. I know how to follow a natural leader. So I think that one of the lies, the biggest one, is I don't need a man. Okay. I think that's a lie. I think women are thinking this whole, you see me cringe when I hear the term partner. That just means that the parts are interchangeable. I know we want a life partner, but we're very different. And that's why you see so many women burning out, when they give so much to, let's say, the corporate world, or, I want to be an entrepreneur or whatever. I'll be 50 next year. Find me a woman my age that's still going just as hard in that career, in that business, in that anything, like you were when you had your youth and you had all that energy. We naturally slow down. And if you haven't prioritized relationships, then you find yourself this, workhorse, and you're going to be serving some man. You're going to be making somebody's home happy. You're going to be making somebody's bottom line a benefit. You're going to be doing it for somebody. Why not for your husband, who has sworn to provide and protect for you and cover you? So I think another lie is that the work that we do in our natural feminine role is somehow subservient, or, you hear the slave, or I don't want to do that. When you talk about men who are in happy marriages, when you talk about men who speak so highly of their wives or their mothers or their grandmothers, it's not because she was a CEO. And there's nothing wrong with being a CEO. Both of my parents have PhDs. I don't think either of my children know that Nana has a PhD. They know when they go to grandma's house, they get, whatever they want to eat. It's the strength that we have in being that nurturer, that support system, that wife, that bride of Christ. That is, I think, the biggest thing a lot of modern women are missing.
Wow. Said a lot.
That's good.
And that's really, really good. If anyone in the chat wants to hop on, share your thoughts, agree, disagree, indifferent, just click the little camera icon. You can hop back. You can hop up just like the young lady did earlier, and we'll chat with you for just a bit. But can you dive into a little bit more when you said sometimes they want to compete as men?
Oh my goodness.
What do you mean by that?
Oh, women are so masculine now, and they don't even realize that they're doing it. I think that they see or we perceive the success that men have, and we think, oh, I want that thing over there. So in order to get that, I need to be as loud and crude and competitive and, masculine and vulgar and physically aggressive or assertive, as open as men do. And we think it's going to give us the same result, that we think that men are over here living this wonderful life. We don't realize the sacrifice that men put into creating a safe space for us. We don't realize the pain and the torture and the way men are often their own harshest critic. The competition. Every time you go out in the world, there's another dragon to slay. There's another problem to solve. Somebody's asking something of you. I don't think we really realize the cost that comes with that.
Not to mention spiritually, but anyway.
Oh, absolutely. Heavy is the crown. I mean, I am happy to fall back and, you go fight that dragon. I will make sure all of this is taken care of. So yeah.
Oh my God, I'm in the dark here. Hi.
Hey.
Hi.
What's your name?
Clementine. Greetings from New Jersey.
We can hear you, we can't see you.
Okay, hold on for a second. Sorry about that. Okay. Hi.
Okay. Hey.
Hey, how are you?
Good. So your name is,
Greetings
what's your
from
name?
New Jersey. Clementine.
Clementine from New Jersey. Nice.
Okay.
Do you have a question, comment, thought, anything that you wanted to add to the conversation?
Yeah, first of all, thanks for having me on. There was so many nuggets here, but one of the things that I really wanted to touch on was what was just mentioned earlier about how, as career women, our identity gets so lost into what we do during the day from 9 to 5, and we have a tendency to carry that over into other areas of our lives where it just is not a fit. It doesn't matter that you're an attorney or a teacher or a nurse from, say, 7 to 3, because once you get home, those hats change and your roles change. I think as a society, we've gotten away from balance. Women don't balance like they should. And so therefore, the family dynamic is off balance because you're bringing home with you what you really should leave at work. And it just is just really an imbalance. So I really appreciated the comment earlier about how, your professional life doesn't define who you are. It's what you do, but it's not who you are as a woman, and especially as a woman of God. So I was back here just cheering all the way in New Jersey. So I don't know if you could hear me or not, but that was my role. That was my school. I couldn't wait to get on.
Thank you. We appreciate that.
Yeah,
appreciate it a lot.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you're welcome.
No, I think that's spot on. Me and Zach, we've had that conversation a lot, man. Just about having the balance of the family, and that's why I always say, and look, your family dynamic. That's how you and your husband or wife wants to make it, right? Just make sure y'all agree. Right, on whatever dynamic y'all want to do. If you want to do the whole stay-at-home mom thing, and make sure y'all agree and y'all be on the same page and doing that. If y'all want to both work and both, divvy up time to do, man, just make sure y'all agree on y'all on the same page. Because everybody's dynamic, what works to a certain extent, what works with one family might not work for another, right? Because it's just two completely different people. So, I mean, just, you definitely got to have those type of conversations before, you get engaged in anything.
I just want to remind everybody, click the camera icon if you want to join, share your thoughts. I don't think we'll be staying on much longer. I know you've got to go. You're on Eastern time, right?
I am.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess 5 more minutes. 10
if y'all
more
got
minutes.
any questions, y'all better put them in the comments.
Any questions, put them in the comments. Agree, disagree, indifferent, put them in the comments or request to join by clicking the camera button. So a little off topic.
Yeah.
I see that you have a lot of cooking and baking videos.
Yes. So I am Maggie, the substitute teacher. I have a cooking channel. That's how this whole thing started. And I was invited, just like you all invited me. I was invited to a podcast in London, and the topic was relationships. And I said what I said. I'm just as surprised as you are. I really don't think anything that I say is that
controversial
or earth shattering. To me, a lot of it is common sense, but I think we have lost our way so much. But when you grow up in a traditional family, this was the example that I had. So this is what I carry out. That goes both ways. I think that there's definitely a need, like I shared with you when the late great Kevin Samuel said, where are the older women to teach the young? I'm looking left and right and I'm like, oh, you all weren't responsible for, chores and babysitting and getting straight A's and, being, active in the family and good in the community. That's just how I was raised. And so I think a lot of us, what I had to realize is a lot of women don't have the example. And then, like we talked about, then they don't realize that there's a gap between what they want and what they have, and then they don't seek it out. And so that's where I will challenge women to do better, but I will give them, a little bit of grace if they weren't taught. But once you become a mature woman, there's no excuses because, the men don't get any excuses. And I think that was in another clip that went viral. We absolutely have to work just as hard as our men, but in a different way and towards different goals that complement, that create the home and the family that you want and ultimately that he wants. Because these are conversations that I think we need to have in the beginning. A lot can be avoided. And I think I said this in another clip. Women just start doing the relationship thing, or they just go out on dates to have experiences and post up on Instagram. No, you need to vet just the way that he's vetting. You need to know what you want. And it's not an interrogation, but you have to be able to ask those questions. You have to let him ask those questions. And then not only do you learn about him, but you learn in general, oh, okay, this is what men like. They really do prefer a woman that's more on the natural side. All this extra, stage makeup and accessories. Men don't really like that. They want you. They want to see you when they wake up, So I just think that having these adult conversations in the beginning allows us to say, okay, either it is a match and I'm going to work hard every day, and the work never ends. We talked about that. You prepare before you meet him. You are preparing and taking feedback and adjusting and customizing yourself to your husband as you're dating and being courted. And then I've been in a relationship 10, 12 years now. I'm constantly doing everything that I can so that he continues to choose me and keep the smile on his face.
So what was it that brought you to that realization?
Like I said, I'm a reformed modern woman, and I am very transparent on my channels that I thought my accomplishments meant more. I married a simple Southern man, and I thought we were, partners. I thought that all of the mistakes that a lot of modern women make, I need to understand everything before I get on board, 20 questions, competitive, you get a promotion, I get a promotion, all of that. What I lost sight of is that we're built differently. We are not here to carry the burden for 40, 50 years, die early, take it, live in pain and get up and sacrifice for the family. Women aren't built that way. And so I realized that. And like I said, unfortunately, it ended in divorce, but we co-parent really well. The boys actually live with their dad now. And so I have a little bit of an early empty nest. And so second relationship for me, I got on the program. I said, I do not want to touch that hot stove again. And
the thing I think is really cool about that is the fact that you didn't just say, the problem is with the other person or whatever. You looked and said, okay, what could we have done differently and what could I have done differently?
Absolutely.
And then, and I think a lot of people don't do that. They just say, oh, this person couldn't handle me. They're the problem. And then they repeat the same problem over and over. And I think learning from mistakes is more admirable than just not making mistakes at all. I think it's learning from them is what's important.
Absolutely. I think it's part of the human experience. And I think it's just an adult quality that we all need to adopt. And I think if women want to be in relationships with masculine men, you got to be able to take feedback early and often. And they're probably only going to tell you one time and then watch. Because the men that we want are not going to repeat themselves. Like I said, they mean what they say and they say what they mean. I think that accountability, I work on myself every day. There's areas that, the reason why I'm going to bed at 10 is because my man was like, what are we doing? You said you're going to be on this fitness program. And I was like, oof, okay, too many recipes. So I'm on it and, I'm going to bed and not staying up and snacking and all of those things. And so I think if you don't have those character traits already built in, you're already behind the 8 ball, because you're going to be wrestling every time he says something that you don't like. And then the men that we want, they're just going to find a woman that is more agreeable. And then you find yourself on the outside looking in. But I have so much respect for marriage. And, I put it on me because all I can control is what I can do. I mean, we all know when a relationship ends, there are things on both sides. I will never speak ill of my ex-husband. I still carry his name. I had his children. He is an amazing man. And I learned a very painful lesson, but not only am I getting better, I am using my learning to help others and other women who want to avoid the mistakes that I made.
So how do you respond when, okay, we got a couple minutes.
That's okay.
How do you
Go
respond
ahead.
when in today's day and age, you're just pointing out these truths and people say, well, you're being mean or you're being anti-woman? How do you respond to that? Because I know you probably get that a lot.
I've been told I'm mean. I do not care. I will be 50 years old next year. I'm sorry. Like, look, life happens to all of us. And I'm sorry. The truth has to be spoken. There's so many lies out here. If you don't want to listen to me, that's fine. Who am I? I'm just a mom on the internet. But your own life experiences will show you either what you're doing is working or it's not. Are you in relationship with a man who's emotionally invested in you, who cares about you? Or are you just with somebody who's like, yeah, she's all right? No, that if that's what you want, do you. But if I worried about what people thought, oh, I've heard it all about, what I say, about my appearance. I've been called Nettie Pearl or Pick Me or whatever. I do not care. My man likes it, so I do what he does.
And you know what I find? I find a lot of people, men and women, are, I don't know if they're scared or they're just hell bent on not changing, right? Because my whole thing is like, if this is the goal, right? You just intellectually, you got to understand you're going to have to change. You're going to have to tweak some things. You're going to have to get better. You're going to have to grow emotionally, mentally, spiritually, right? In order to prepare for that. If you think I think any of y'all, any person that's been married can say, man, if you don't grow while you're single and do the work, right, the really hard work, man, marriage is going to be so difficult. Yeah. So difficult, right? And me, hey, I'm in a waiting season for 31 years, right? So, and I'm asking God, like, dang, how much work does it really take? But I would rather do the work now than get there and it be the most beautiful thing I've ever experienced versus just, bypassing the work, or God, or, choosing for God not to put me through the fire, then get there and it, blow up in flames, right? So, I mean, men and women, like, you got to do the work. You got to do the really hard work in order what it really takes to be married, because, it's not, I think y'all can say it's worth it, but it's not easy.
Oh, it's definitely not easy. I don't think anything worth having is easy. And, like I said in the beginning, if you want to be an entrepreneur, get a skill, I don't take the complaining, because you figure out how to do the things that you want to do. You go pay that money and study all night to get that degree. And, I'm someone with multiple degrees too. So I think We want the easy way out in a lot of things, but a relationship, we are not entitled to it. We are not entitled to the man of our dreams. Like you said, you may get one opportunity with the man that you're like, oh my goodness, this is everything that I asked for. It is going to require a lot of work, but I enjoy it. I am a natural hard worker, but yes, you have to earn it, and you have to be worthy of it, because I don't think you'll appreciate it if it's just handed to you. And I would say the man that you want had to earn it and has to be worthy of it and has to keep that every single day, because
and it's hard as heck.
Yeah,
it's hard as heck. It's hard as heck.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway,
Yeah.
Maggie, we want to make sure you're at the right time, that you stick to your promise. Maggie, thank you for coming on. We definitely need to do this again.
Absolutely.
I think there was a lot of good information that was shared.
Saved a lot. Everybody been saying that.
Had somebody that grew from it. So thank you, Chris, always. Thank you. And we'll see you guys next time.
Appreciate it. Hey, make sure you save it live a bunch of you've been asking.
I told everybody I'm going to be putting it on YouTube. Maggie's going to share it from on her page, she said, as well.
Yep.
So make sure you're following her. Anyone that's following Maggie, make sure you're following Chris. Make sure you're following me, so that you can see the live again. So till next time.
Thank you so much for having
me. Appreciate y'all. Y'all have a blessed night.
Yes, God bless. All right, everybody. Ooh, I'm tired, but that was fun. Sorry, everyone. Let me see who we have in the chat here. I didn't know what to expect, but okay. Let's just see here. I got about 5 minutes before I'm going to hang it up. I saw a few super chats coming in. So thank you so much to Mrs. Crow T. Shetty for the $20 super sticker. No comment, no question, just pure love and supporting. I appreciate you so, so much. Again, I just wanted to have this recording up. Kaz TV reached out to me on Instagram. So hopefully you all were able to hear well. And I'm going to, hopefully I can save it on my page as well. We have Slim Daddy 9 with the $10 super chat. He says, these days, any woman who calls herself princess or queen is a sign of selfishness that is an instant turnoff. All right, ladies, anything they think they deserve is just brat code. That's a new one. Brat code for an unearned entitlement. I agree, ladies. I think, this queen and princess, we're not. If you were a queen or a princess, you wouldn't be in the dating market. You would have someone already, betrothed to you since you were very young. I understand we love the accolades and pretending like we have a crown. And that's fun in make-believe, but I think it can really hurt us once we get into the real world. And then you're dating or being vetted by a man who lives and works in the real world and has to take feedback all the time and get better. And then you think you're just going to sit up somewhere and it's going to, because they automatically happen. You're not helping yourself. It's so much better to be humble and then let other people sing your praises. Slim Daddy 9 again with the $5. He says, most of the women that I'm around aren't worth the effort. AKA ratchet to the max. Woo, where are you? I'm a lame / square in their eyes. Who I pick is a reflection on me. I hear you, and I have a heart for, I'm a nerd. My ex-husband was in tech. My man works in tech. And so I love the nerds and the geeks. But I say this, for men, I think I heard Dennis Sperling say this, it gets greater later. Stay on your purpose. There's going to be a lot of rejection, unfortunately for our men, that's just part of the process. But funnily enough, the same women who would not give you the time of day when you were in that lame and square part of your life, when they come out here and they have all these experiences, or God forbid, if they get ran through and then they remember, man, how is so-and-so doing? It's amazing. Men tell me how many times women from their past come and they try to strike up a conversation or remember me when? it's too little too late. I say you are in the power position once you've built yourself, and there's a woman out there for you. Just stick to your guns and your requirements and don't settle for less. But if you're surrounded by ratchet women, it's time to change your surroundings. And then Slim Daddy 9 again saying pressure is for shoulders, not for hips. Shout out to Kevin Samuels. Lucy and I will be on tomorrow night to talk about the episode that just posted. But yes, it's true, ladies. And I think this is where, as older women, I see myself in a lot of younger women, and I see them, going hard in the paint. And I'm like, ooh, I remember being that way. But if you want that 50 years and that front porch and that rocking chair, allow the man to lead, choose wisely. He's built for it. We aren't. And that's just the God's honest truth. Let's see what you guys are saying in the chat here, and then we will close out. The Condemn says, I've been hit with the hey, big head. Yeah, they always do. They come around. I shared with you all that, my man is someone that I grew up with, someone from my past. And I always, wanted to be a wife and be in relationship. But he needed that time to go sow his wild oats. So, broke my little heart. But then when life brought us back together. It's amazing when a man is on his purpose and he's ready. He's night and day. He's everything that I always wanted, but on his time. And that's the thing that a lot of women have to realize. We are not in control when it comes to the relationship timing. All right. So let me see if there's anything else. The Condemn says, good discussion, Maggie. Hopefully the woman from Cali reaches out to you for guidance. Yeah, she started following me online. So we'll see if she reaches out. Marie says, flowers for you, Maggie. That was awesome. Thank you all so much. Erin Laura says, this has been a wonderful conversation. Thank you, Maggie and panel. All right, y'all. So I'm going to see if I can either download this or have 10 plus sounds, clip it up. But yeah, Marie says, you shouldn't care. It resonates with who it resonates with. And it did with me. I'm so glad I found you. We'll end on that. I'm so glad you all found me too. So if you're new here, Maggie, the substitute teacher, I make food and femininity content, usually cooking at the front of the week, and then relationship content towards the second half of the week. All right. So I'll see you all tomorrow with Miss Lucy, 9 p.m. Eastern time for more conversation, and you'll have my full attention. All right, everybody. Thank you so much. Thank you to all of the donations. Thank you, Kaz TV, for the invitation. You all have a great night, and I will see you all tomorrow with Luke Hazley.